Hello and welcome to episode 1485 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Monday, March 9th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined today by Justin and Joe. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Doing well. We're doing good, man. It's a busy time of year, but like I said to Justin, the season's going to start in a couple weeks, and it's kind of an old joke that I've heard over the last couple of years is once the season starts, the content creators can kind of take a break because March is so busy. But
Oh,
right
yeah.
now, it's like 3 live streams a day, a bunch of podcasts, articles, all of it. But we are in the thick of it, man. It's a really fun time of year.
It's the best time of year. By the way, Joe, Justin's always going to let you have the floor on the initial intro, so feel free to he always lets the guest go first, so feel free with that initial hello. Justin, how you doing?
I'm exhausted. I'm so tired.
Not
but
that
I'm
you're
ready.
a guest, by the way,
Yeah,
Joe,
yeah,
but you know
no.
what I mean. The co-host,
Yeah.
I should say.
I'm a gentleman. I always let other people go
Yeah.
first.
I've noticed that from you. Anytime we have a third person on and I say hello to both, you always let them take the lead. So
Yeah.
feel free to just take that lead, Joe.
I echo what Joe is saying. Right, like I am exhausted. I am burnt, but I am ready.
Tell the people about your league count. Everyone knows where your
Oh.
league counts normally come in. What are we looking at this year? Even if you add one more league, which you're kind of hunting around for right now, even if you add that one, what would you be at?
It's insane because I have traditionally been between 15 and 20 leagues a year, and most of those being fab leagues.
Yes.
And as of right now, I am in 5 leagues. It is now. It doesn't include the gladiators, which I don't really count.
But again, those aren't fab, and so those
yeah.
aren't really in-season management. Those are done. Those are completely done. You can't touch
It
them.
doesn't
So
include two dynasty leagues, and I didn't include my 3 sport leagues, but so not including those, but like just regular redraft leagues, yeah, 5. And I'm debating trying to see if NFBC will set up another online championship auction league for the Monday before the start of the season. So because I just want to do one more auction live stream. So, but yeah, it's been weird not drafting this offseason. Like
that's all right, though. That's all right. You don't need to be drafting every moment of the day. You did your auction the other night, your tout auction or labor auction, excuse me. You covered that yesterday with Jason. You know the drafts are going to be coming, and then the 3 of us are going to be in a league together, which is pretty awesome.
Yes,
We're going to be in the Beat Justin Mason. You know, last year I took 12 teams off entirely because the difference between the 2 fabs is so stark that I just didn't want to mess with it. Well, I found a way back into 12s, and it was to go against you guys because this is going to be fun. Obviously, we're still in competition for the overall, and of course, we're going to desperately want to win this league, but this was the right way to come back into 12 teams. The 3 of us are going to be in it March 22nd. That's going to be a huge weekend because I got my main on the 21st. I'll be streaming that, and then we'll be streaming together for that Beat Justin Mason OC. Is that full yet?
There's 2 spots left, so by the time most people are hearing this, if they're not,
I would imagine
watching live,
once they know Joe's in,
yeah.
last 2 spots going.
Easy money, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So
Then they didn't see the postseason pool, baby, because you got the big NFBCW win under your belt. Can't nobody take that away.
I'm gonna
So,
call it
we
an
got-
overall for the rest of my life, even though it's kind of technically sort of an overall, but I'm gonna bank on that one being overall.
Absolutely. I mean, that's awesome to win that. Any big contest that you win at the NFBC, any single league is an achievement, right? Like, it's not, when we talk about the competition level, it is higher. It doesn't mean everything is the hardest thing ever and, oh my God, how could you possibly win a league? It's the craziest gauntlet. But there is no denying that versus any other outlet that you're going to go to, the baseline of talent is higher. People are trying harder. There's more money at stake. So the effort is there, and it becomes very difficult to succeed. We had the first main go off this past weekend. That was pretty interesting. Spencer Strider went way too high, and we're going to actually talk about him. Let's get into our next 10 pitchers. A little bit of a tight window today in terms of time, so we're going to keep it to 10 pitchers as opposed to having a big one. Eventually, we're going to have to do an episode where we cover, 40 pitchers, but that'll be coming soon. Who knows? But I want to start with one of my favorites before we get to Strider, Mr. Ryan Pepio. And I like to say that I got a lot of Pepio in my Stepio. Love this guy. Was a huge fan of his last year. Ends up basically kind of defeating or at least sustaining Steinbrenner Field because that's not where his numbers were up. He had a 3.86 ERA, which is just okay, but a 1.16 WHIP. He was actually better on the road or better at home than he was on the road, believe it or not. But now going back to the Trop, I really think this is the year we get the low 3s, maybe even sub 3 ERA from Ryan Pepio. Joe, do you got Pepio in your Stepio?
I do, yeah. And it's funny, when we did the show in Arizona, the live Fantasy Pro show, and we brought on a couple of people around the industry, yourself, Frank, to highlight a couple of players they like. You were in on Pepio then. He has been one of your guys going back a while now. But just remembering you highlighting him, and what the thing with Pepio, he's never been bad. There's never been any stretch of his time in the major leagues where he has been, a guy you can't start, or a guy that you're worried about, your ratios are going to get blown. Like, nothing like that. Like, he's a 3.54 ERA, 1.14 WHIP for his career. And I know there's been, not full seasons mixed in there, but over close to 400 innings, you start to think that that's pretty legit, especially with his stuff. I wish the command was a little bit better, but his stuff going back to the Trop, I don't have any problem taking Pepio as like an SP3 type. And maybe he's more suited as a 4 depending on your build, but I think he can serve as an SP3 in a 15-team league pretty comfortably.
Yeah, that's the thing for me with Pepio, is that he can be that 3 if you're waiting a little bit on pitching and you're building more in the middle and back end, as opposed to going with that frontline ace and trying to build a lot of front end pitching to make him your 4. Justin, do you got Pepio in your Stepio? You're muted. Banger start.
Yeah, just really crushing it. This daylight savings time thing.
But that's the perfect thing to blame it on. I love that. Yeah, it has no bearing whatsoever, but it works. I love it.
I'm a little bit more torn on Pepio. The interesting thing for me, because like you mentioned, he was better on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Where he wasn't better is kind of the scare spot for me, which is in the whip. He walked more guys on the road than he did, or had a higher walk percentage on the road than he did at home last year. And now going back to the Trop, I don't know how that affects him. Like, the Trop is one of those places that batters struggle with because the batting eye there. So I'm a little concerned about the high walk rate. The walk rate has been high in spring as well. Obviously, it's only 5 innings, so we don't want to overreact to that quite yet, but he has command and control problems that scare me a little bit, and I do have more of a fear that it's kind of going to be a little bit more of the same from Ryan Pepio, which is a guy who delivers decent numbers and gets innings, which Tampa Bay desperately needs from their starters because they've got a few that they can't really heavily rely upon, but that it won't be like this next step. It's going to be a mid to high 3s kind of ERA, a 120-ish kind of whip, and it'll just kind of be, a fine SP 3 or 4, but not something is winning you your league.
I mean, he doesn't have to do that, though. That's kind of the beauty of Pepio, is I don't really need him to be at that level where he's going. He's like SP 35. I think he finished around 40, 45 last year with, kind of the ups and downs of the bit higher ERA. So that's kind of what I like, is that a repeat just cashes the ticket even. And then there is the upside of going back to the Trop to get a better home stadium and maybe having a little bit of development with Pepio where he cuts the homers and then jumps another level.
For a guy who's not like particularly old or have a ton of experience, I mean, he's only 28. And
third full year, yeah.
Yeah, like he has a pretty safe floor. And I do like these guys, especially if you're mixing in someone who maybe has a little bit higher ceiling early on that has maybe a lower floor. So I like Pepio. I don't, but he's not been a guy that like I'm targeting in drafts yet.
Okay. Let's talk Spencer Strider. He went off last week, threw some pitches, 96 to 97. Made some people think that he's fully healthy and ready to go, and others a bit more skeptical. I think you can tell by my sarcasm there that I lean toward the former. I forget the order I said it in, but I'm not so bought in. I'm not so bought in that this is the fix. He didn't throw everything 96 plus. He hit 96, 97 a few times, and I know he can build up, right? Like, his price skyrocketed. I think he was top 70 overall pick in that main event. I can't do it with Strider. That's still not even back to his great level of velo at 96, 97. Isn't it 98, 99 where he's truly excellent? Justin, I'm not in on the Strider stuff at all, especially at a helium bump, which it looks like we're going to get here in the draft cost, but I didn't like him at his previous cost. Where do you come out with Strider right now?
I'm very torn on Strider. I took him in a Gladiator earlier this offseason and kind of not trusted him since.
He's probably a lot cheaper too.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I think he was my SP4. in that league. So like I was
Could
like,
be
okay,
SP2
fine.
now.
Yeah, I'm not taking him as an SP2. I don't know what we're gonna get from Strider. I don't know what kind of volume we can expect from him. I don't know what the velo is gonna look like consistently. And without that velo, he is just not the same guy that he was. This is a high risk, high reward type of play, though. I understand why people, especially in the NFBC world, are pushing up Spencer Strider, but it's not for me. It's just not.
It is still high reward, but we're a good bit removed from that high reward. And
We are.
even his last great season of 2023 still had a 386 ERA because he had some inconsistency. Now, the skills suggested that that could have been a way better season with a 286 Sierra, and I'm definitely going to be fair there on Strider and point out that that was awesome. But again, that's 2023. It's 2026 now. The velo's way down. He was 97 that year, so if he is sitting 96, 97, that's something. But from what I could see from the picture that everyone was throwing around from Savant was like he hit it sometimes, Joe. Not that he was necessarily sitting there. I've got a lot of concerns about about Strider, and with this price jump, again, I can't get there. What about you?
Yeah, I have one share. I took him in the Earth League. I took him in the 9th round, and I don't love it. I think it's fine. I backed him up with a few guys who are quote unquote, the safer types. I got Ranger Suarez, I've got Jameson Tyone, I've got Ryan Nelson. I maybe safer in my own eyes. I don't know if they're actually safe or not. But I think with Strider, it's a cop-out, but we just need to see a couple of more spring outings to see where he's sitting until you can really give a definitive answer. If your draft is tomorrow, it's better to be out than in on Strider, I think. But if we see over the next couple of spring outings he is back to sitting 97, 98, it'd be hard not to be back in, I think. But there is some concern still. Like the stuff not returning last year was really weird. Stuff isn't usually in question. But he didn't have the classic Tommy John, if I'm remembering right. He had the brace.
He had the brace,
right?
yeah.
And we don't have as much data about guys post-brace surgery. So he really is a bit of an unknown. I would be hard-pressed to think that he's just done at 27 years old. But I think he also had another surgery at Clemson, if I'm not mistaken. So he does have some wear and tear on that arm at this point.
Right.
I really just want to see the next couple of outings. And if he is sitting 97 consistently and locating his fastball, that's the main thing. The fastball has been horrible. And even in spring, it's been bad. It was bad last year. If the fastball's good and sitting 97, I'm in. If it's sitting 94, I can't be. And I know that's a cop-out, but I just need to see.
No, I don't think it's a cop-out. I don't even think I can get in at that level, by the way. Go ahead, Justin.
It's not a cop-out because his previous spring start to the last one, he was sitting 93. Right? And now he's sitting 95.
And thank you. It was only 95, by the way, with a 96.7 max. It didn't even hit 97 full. Yeah. We had to round it.
Now, to be fair, like in spring, in like 2024, he was sitting 96, right? So it
could be a build-up situation. I don't want to hammer it too much. I'm hammering it a bit harder than I need to. I just felt like, Justin, you love to say wish casting, right? There's some wish casting here.
Absolutely.
A little bit way more than I think is fair. And to the point, like I said, I don't even think there's anything Strider could do to get me back in. I just think the risk profile is too high. So I'm out. And
I could do it like a 10 or a 12.
Yeah, the replacement value is higher. So if you want to shoot the moon there, sure. I'm just going to take other guys.
I shouldn't have done it in Surf. It was a mistake. Looking back on it, I would not make that pick again.
Would you pick another pitcher, or was Hitter the move there instead, you think, if you look back at the board?
I think I was just kind of dreaming on the upside. Like, I took him 2 picks before Gausman went. I like Gausman, in retrospect, a lot more. Mm-hmm. Michael King, I took in the next round, but honestly, like, those should probably be flipped. Like, it was a risky pick. And also, I didn't even mention this, but Hunter Green was my SP1 in that draft. So I might be on the waiver wire for a while.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem with that kind of pick is like,
it was a bad
if Logan Webb was your one, I would be like, okay, yeah, fine, all right, good. You can take the gamble with Logan Webb, but with Hunter Green, like, no, you had to go a different direction there.
It was a bad pick. I waited too long on that SP2, and I got caught where Strider was the only guy who could even resemble an SP2,
with the green, dude. That's tough. That's really tough with Hunter Green. You mentioned Michael King was somebody that you took right after. He's back. He's looking pretty good. Wasn't perfectly himself last year coming back in 73 innings, but was more or less there. Like, that's the Michael King that we saw. We certainly saw him for chunks of those 73 innings. In spring now, velo back up, 94, missing bats, still walking guys. Like, control that's just part of it is the nastiness of his stuff. Michael King's stuff moves so much, I think that it can be hard to control. So I don't even know if he's ever going to be like some 5% walk rate guy. His best ever was a 7%. He's really kind of an 8-9 guy. He's at 10 in spring. I'm not concerned about that. I think Michael King's ready to come back, have a big year. There's not going to be any restrictions on him, Justin, partly because he's 31, and I know he has some health concerns, but they just simply can't. Who are they going to turn to in San Diego to like give him rest? I think it could be a new innings high for Michael King as long as he's healthy. I don't see any reason that they won't let him throw $190.
Yeah, I think they're going to give him every opportunity to. It's just a matter of whether he can actually stay on the field. And,
right.
You know, we had that massive inning spike in 2024, and then we saw kind of the repercussions of it in 2025. And I don't know where he's going to be. This is another one of these guys where I'm just kind of avoiding because I don't know what to expect. And I don't like those kind of profiles that make it hard for me to project the rest of my team's innings when I take a guy like this, especially as early as he's going. So I tend to go for other guys in this tier more often than I will for Michael King. I'm not going to beat up anybody for taking the shot because when he was on the field, even last year through the injury struggles, like he was still pretty damn good.
Right.
He was
you could still see him in there.
He was elite in 2024, right? So, like, I totally understand why people do it. It's just, again, not for me.
Joe, we saw a huge homer spike last year from .89 the previous 2 seasons, including that breakout 24 that Justin mentioned for Michael King, all the way up to 1.5. And frankly, the fact that Michael King had a 3.44 ERA allowing that many homers speaks to how good he was around it. Like, that's pretty impressive when you're allowing that many bombs. But if he continues to do that, I don't think he's going to put up another 344. Where do we go from here with the homers? You think it's just something about returning, working out some command kinks from the injury, or something to be alarmed by? And I will mention that he's allowed a few bombs in spring, too. It's 3 starts. I don't want to sit here and say 3-1 homer 9 is Michael King's level.
That's right.
But he's allowed a few more bombs. Spring, particularly in Arizona, especially the ball can fly. So, again, I'm reluctant to use the spring homers too heavily. But what about the homers that we saw in the 73 innings for King, Joe?
So just looking at the game log, I think a lot of it comes down to just the one game against the Mets where he allowed 4. Because other than that, every other start was 1 or 0, except for one start where he allowed 2. But that 4 that he allowed out of 12 home runs for the whole season, I think is doing a lot of the heavy lift.
I think it is.
It feels like a bit of an anomaly, especially when you look over his career and he's lived in that .85, .86, .88 type of range as a reliever and as a starter. So I wouldn't expect the home runs to stick necessarily. I think part of it could just be coming back from that shoulder problem he had last year. He wasn't fully right. And some of those starts down the stretch, there was a couple of good ones, but there was a couple of real stinkers. That one in particular, 8 earnings over 3 innings.
That was
strikeouts
after the 2-homer game too. So that was 6 homers in 2 games. Yeah. That's half of King's homers.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that number is a stone cold fluke and he gets all the way back down to .9. There's a chance that he still has command issues and he has a 2-homer game every 7th start, so we get a few of them and he's closer to 1.1. I think there's a range of outcomes here, but I do think it's at least on the table that King fixes the homer issue completely because, as Joe mentioned, 6 and 2 starts there is pretty flukish. All right, here's a gigantic question mark that, again, if I can't do Strider, I don't know how I could ever pull the Zach Wheeler trigger, at least in NFBC, just in terms of the uncertainty and having to hold him, although I feel like every bit of news we get lately, Justin, is that like he's inching closer and closer, which has people more excited. What's Zach Wheeler going to be doing this year? And is he somebody that you're looking at in any non-IL formats, such as the NFBC?
I just can't do it personally. Like, it's too risky. Like, you're talking about thoracic outlet, which, like, I know it's a different thoracic outlet than like what kind of
the alleged better one.
Yeah, the one that Merrill Kelly got. But like, the reason why we always go to Merrill Kelly as the comp is because that's the only other guy that has had surgery. Like, there is just no track record like whatsoever, and he's 36 years old. I love Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is. I mean, I wrote him up yesterday for a Fantasy Pros article. I love him. I hope he is great, but he won't be great on my team. There's just too much risk to be taking on.
It's back, Joe. Your camera was frozen. I totally get that with Zach Wheeler. I'm also there where it's like, I just can't do it. He's not going to be ready, likely not going to be ready for opening day. They're not really talking that yet. they're wanting to say pretty close after, and I get why people are excited, but this just seems like one where you get too friendly with the timeline, so you take it for granted that it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, and it ends up being 6 to 8 with Zach
we
Wheeler.
also are living and dying on reports, right? These aren't like we're getting to see Zach Wheeler pitch, right?
Well, because he's only thrown a few bullpens, so we'll see if we get anything. Will he throw any live games before main event season? What would that do to his price?
And bullpens are really controlled environments, right?
Of course.
We don't know, hey, is he not throwing certain pitches?
No, I'm totally with you. It's just 3 bullpen sessions for a guy coming off TOS, like you said, who's 36. Again, I'm not drafting him with a price drop, and I think it's only going to go up.
Oh, it's for sure only going to go up. So,
and I'm not Mr. Risk averse. I'm not like, I can't take any sort of risk. This to me doesn't even feel it's like such locked in risk that it just feels like a bad decision. I don't know. Joe, Zach Wheeler.
Anybody who tells you they know what to expect from Zach Wheeler is lying to you, because we have no clue. We have no clue what.
Why does he pick 111?
At his age, I mean, he's going to be 36 years old in a couple months with almost 2,000 innings under his belt. Nobody knows what to expect. TOS is scary. I mean, when I think of TOS, I think of Jared Walsh.
Terms of service?
Lost their.
Sorry.
No, yeah, but I think of guys who lost their whole career over.
Right.
Now, it doesn't seem like it's that serious with Wheeler, but he's already said he's got a year or 2 left before he retires. Tim McLeod mentioned this on the Tout stream that Zach Wheeler has already talked about retirement. If Zach Wheeler, and now this is conjecture, but if Zach Wheeler doesn't look good this year, if his arm is completely shot, he is no longer Zach Wheeler that we remember. But Zach Wheeler just say, you know what, I'm done at the end of this season, and that's kind of going to be it for me.
Especially if he has any sort of colossal setback.
Yeah.
If it pops again or whatever that would look like. I'm sorry, I might not be using the proper terminology. But if the blood clot came back or whatever the case may be, and it set the cycle back, I could see him saying, "Hey, I got a pretty great career. I'm going to go ahead and hang it up." Never got the sigh.
He went pick 115 in the mains.
I just can't do that, and I can't really even see the justification. At least Strider's pitching. At least I will give the Strider folks that. He's pitching. He's building up. You can write your wish cast that can get there. And I've been a wish caster, so that was more of a dig.
I think he's gonna be 6th round before the end of the main. And that's just insane. He already went ahead.
That's dumb, right?
He went ahead of Michael King, Cam Schlittler, Sonny Gray, Brandon Woodruff.
I know I'm just asking to get
Pepio.
clipped if he comes out and throws some great season for calling it dumb, but
it's okay. There are other guys in that tier that'll have very great seasons as well, and I'd rather
process versus results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if he is good, even if Zach Wheeler is good, I still think this is a bad process. This is hitting a gut shot. I love the poker analogies that when we bring them into fantasy sports.
Sorry, but this is the exact same conversation we had on Spencer Strider last year. And there were
how'd it go?
There were many people who were oh, I'm gonna take the gamble because of the upside. He could be a unicorn. I'm sorry, it may work out. It absolutely may work out. But I promise you, 9 times out of 10, this kind of situation is not going to work out, and I'm going to bet on that 90%.
This going for a gut shot on a low end straight, where you need a 6 and somebody folded a 6 already. Yeah. So there's only even 3. I'm just trying to tell you the odds here of this. You could get it, and you're going to win that huge pot if Wheeler pops off.
Yeah, 8% chance it's going to hit. I'm not spending that high of a pick. If this was lower, sure, fine.
That's the thing. There's no discount on guys like this in the NFBC landscape. Your Wheelers, your Striders, your upper crust talent, they're not going to do it.
If you're in a Yahoo 10, if you're in ESPN 10, I totally get it. Absolutely get it. Because you can throw him on your IL, hold him for as long as it takes. So if he doesn't come back until June,
doesn't matter. You're working through the wire, no problem.
And you've got him stashed on your IL. I totally get it. Tout Wars, somebody's going to do it. I'm not going to have a problem with it because they've got unlimited IL spots.
And that's why I underscore, no IL league, NFBC stuff, because it does differ, folks. And pitching gets pushed up because you got to have pitching to win in the main event. And so people are going to push it. And a guy like our next guy is going to get pushed up, Tyler Glass now. But as we're looking at this group here, Strider, King, Wheeler, Glasnow, they're all kind of together in terms of having that looming injury risk, either because they're injured now or have been a lot recently. And I think Glasnow is probably my favorite of the bunch, even though I know that, like, what can I really put him down for? $110. I still feel like I'll probably go for him between cost, age, team, all the factors. I think I end up with Glasnow the most out of this little quartet here. Joe, what say you between that, to what I say there with regards to Glasnow, with regards to these other three?
I can understand Glasnow. Like, you're going to get good innings when he's out there. But just the amount of innings, it's a killer if he throws 72 innings or something like that at your SP2, SP3. And the best case scenario in his career is 134. And even in that season, he has a 3.5 ERA. He was good, but he wasn't like a dominant ace that year. So I feel like we're wish casting still with Tyler Glasnow, even though he's going to be 30.
Wait. What year?
What year did he throw
24?
that?
24 you're talking about?
24, yeah. He was really good.
.95 whip, that was like mega ace.
Yeah, but with the 3.5 ERA.
Yeah, like, but that whip is bonkers good. I bet he was, what do you think? He was a top 20 guy? You don't think he was top 20?
He might have been, but that was the best we ever got.
He was literally 20th.
Okay.
And that includes Tyler Holton for some reason, so call him 19th. I don't know why he's showing under SPs. I mean, he did, well, that's when he had like 20 opens. That's why. That's why. Okay.
If you've taken guys that you feel are the workhorses that can get you the 200 innings, if you've taken Freddie Peralta and Logan Webb and you want to take Tyler Glasnow as your third, and that kind of build, I would get it. But if you want to take a couple of those shots on some of the earlier, you like Cole Reagans this year, Gilbert, or whoever it is, I think you're compounding the risk a little bit too much with Glasnow. I say all this, and this will be the year he throws 170 innings, but it's just, we've been waiting for so long for a whole season. And
I'm not even waiting for the 170 though. I'll take another 130. I mean, it's only done it once. Call it 125. He's done a 120 and a 134, split the difference. But even the 90 that he gave you last year was still really good. So it is kind of a guaranteed, assumed quality of innings when you're getting them, and then we'll see where the volume goes. I think that he and the other three guys, Strider, King, Wheeler, they all take a concerted build to put them on. You're talking about like stacking the pitching, Joe. I completely agree, but I think you need to make that plan. Again, Justin and I sometimes disagree on this with different player types where you can just take them. I know it's usually about rabbits and like the Luis Arraez batting types, but with these sort of pitching low volume potential guys that I know have a very high chance to be low volume, I think you go in with a plan to make sure you have three, top 40 starters or whatever. You do want to build around them and build a foundation so that if they only throw 70, it doesn't sink your season. Justin, where do you come out with Glasnow within this quartet here?
I mean, I've never been a Glasnow guy because of all the injuries.
Mm-hmm. But he's healthy now.
But
I was of this group.
You literally stole the words that were about to come out of my mouth, which is,
I'm sorry.
He's healthy right now, and maybe you only get 110 innings or 120 innings. But if they're right at the beginning of the season, I kind of want to take it. And I did in Barf, right? He was my SP3 behind Skubal and DeGrom.
That's okay. That's exactly where I'm taking a Glasnow, is after a mega ace and then a potential ace.
Yeah,
DeGrom has a little wiggle himself in terms of age and whatnot, but he's healthy right now.
I don't know that I get him again unless he just, in an auction, he just falls to a point where I throw him out for $6 and everybody goes quiet or something like that. But I could see it. I could definitely see a world this year. It's always about the price. Now, here's the thing. He went higher than Strider and all those guys we were talking about in the first main. He went in the back end of the 7th round. He has another 2 good rehab starts. And he is a 6th round, maybe even a 5th round pitcher. And that's
with that.
That's when I go, I'm done. I'm out, right? But I do think your Yahoos, your ESPNs, your CBSs, I think this is a guy that won't rise in the ADP, and you can get in the 12th round. And at that point in a 10 or 12 team league in the 12th round, I'll take that all day long.
I'm surprised. Go ahead, Joe.
No, go ahead, because I got a bit of a longer point. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm surprised to hear you say that with regards to where Glasnow went, because in the last 11 OCs, it's Strider easily at 112 versus Glasnow 121. So the main maybe was the fire starter to move Strider up, and then these other OCs maybe have followed suit. Strider's min in this time, and then this is just the last few days since March 7th, so it's 11 OCs. His min is 89 for Strider. Glasnow's min is 103. So yeah, I'm with you. If Glasnow jumps to the head of the class, part of the reason I like him is he's usually cheaper than at least one of these guys, if not multiples. And in this sample of OCs, he's the third cheapest. Michael King is the cheapest,
and
but Wheeler and Strider are higher.
I have the last 43 OCs, and Glasnow's ADP in those is 121.
So he's been holding firm.
So that's it. Yeah, that's like the beginning of the 11th round in an OC. I'll take that. That's fine.
Me too. Yeah. Joe, what were you going to say?
So, again, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer here a little bit, but looking at what he did last year, his velo was down across the board. Not a lot necessarily, but between a half a tick and a full tick, depending on which pitch you're looking at. Fastball from 96.3 to 95.7. The sinker went down, the slider went down, like everything went down in terms of velocity. The stuff was also at an all-time low at 98, with the location plus and pitching plus being 91 and 94 respectively. The contact rates were the worst of his career. He wasn't getting chases, and the swinging strike rate was just down at 11. So the question I would put is he still the Glasnow we're hoping for? Like, on top of all the injuries, is the talent still at peak level?
I want to, there's obviously a chance that the injuries have degraded the skills. We don't want to, overlook that, right? To your point. He's getting older. He has had a plethora of injuries. At some point, maybe the talent degrades because of all of that. But we could also just kind of look at it and goes, he was injured most of last year.
Sure.
And therefore unable to lock that stuff. Again, super small sample because it's spring training. It's got a 45% O swing this spring in a 19%.
Velo's back up.
Yeah, his 19% swinging strike rate, right? So, the velo's back. He is healthy right at the moment. Especially in your shallower leagues where there is replacement value, your 10s and 12s, I feel like this should be a target for people. And in 15s, I'm willing to take the gamble, especially as my SP3.
Yeah, I am too on Glasnow. Joe does bring up the good point, though, about the strikeout minus walk dropping down to 17 because the walks were up. And they were also up in the playoffs, too. He put up pretty good numbers. That's the thing, too. He's so difficult to square up that even during all these struggles, Joe, he was insane in the playoffs and regular season just due to hit suppression. He really had to ride the BABIP train, though, to get there. And if we get another 11% walk rate, there is real trouble. So there's risk. I do not deny that. But pick 120. I just think that that's a fair enough price because when I tell you the other guys going around him, they got just as many question marks, if not more. Cam Schlittler, Spencer Strider, Jacob Mizorowski, Zach Wheeler, Nick Lodolo, Brandon Woodruff, who we're also going to talk about on this episode here. So, if it's a question field, give me the guy. He's also hot. You have to consider that. Tyler Glasnow is just really good looking. That's a key factor, Joe. You have to bake that into the equation.
I also want to point out too, he's on the Dodgers, right? Dodgers are going to get him wins.
Right.
If he starts 17 games, could he not win 14 games?
That would be insane.
It would be insane, but it could happen on the Dodgers.
It could happen, right? He did only win 4 last year. We're due some win luck.
Yeah.
4 out of 18 last year for Glasnow. But
I feel like I've been saying this all year long. I want pieces of the Dodgers, and this year for some reason after 2-peating and going for a 3-peat, this feels like the prime year to go get Dodgers at cheap prices.
You aren't lying. And now best ball is the best place to get them for obvious reasons because of the way they manage, but I have been feasting on Dodgers pitchers in my best ball leagues. I'm doing some best ball drafts right now, and Sheehan, Snell, Glasnow, give them, I'm all about it there, especially in best ball. But yeah, I like their guys. I even like Yamamoto too at the high end. Obviously he's my number 4, but he's harder to get. All right, let's move on to Gavin Williams, who, you could also bring into this group here, right? Obviously I paired these guys with good reason. It's the same category title as last episode, Juice Worth the Squeeze part 2 here, because there's this appealing upside, but there are reasons to kind of pull back on them. And one of us has kind of put a wet blanket on each of these guys at a certain point. But if either of you says a bad thing about Gavin Williams, I'm going to flip this table and end this show. Because, no, I'm just kidding. He has flaws. Obviously, I'm a big fan of his, but I understand his flaws. I'm going to let you guys lead it off here. I will say this, Joe, before you get in on my boy Gavin, 3% walk rate in spring. I like seeing that for 8 innings. It's 8 innings, but I like seeing that he's working on the walk rate. That's his big issue, though, control. Dude runs up his pitch count so fast that he's sweating bullets by the 4th inning every damn start. But when he found his groove, he had a great second half. Can we get more goodness from Gavin Williams this year?
Yeah, I think he is one of those typical breakout candidates if you just look at what he did in the second half. The command is still bad. And even while he was good in the second half, he walked 34 batters in 81 innings. So there is some risk, right? He had a 2.21 ERA in the second half, but it was a 3.95 FIP, 3.63 expected FIP. So I think he was playing over his skis a little bit, but I think he's also better than the full season line would suggest, especially with the whip, because 3.06 ERA, that might be hard to repeat. But I think he can definitely work on the 127 whip, get you into the 120 or 118 type of range over the course of a full season.
That'd be great.
Some concern maybe over like what kind of win number you can expect in Cleveland. I don't think they're a great team by any stretch, but it is a poor division.
Always
so maybe
good bullpens though, right? So they'll hold his leads at the very least.
Yeah, maybe he can get 10 wins, something like that. I wouldn't expect the second half numbers fully, but I think you can maybe look at like what's the best projection here. I think, the Fangraphs depth chart
one there.
Yeah, the Zips is probably like the best one, but in terms of like what I expect to be the most accurate, probably the Fangraphs depth charts, if I can speak, like a 3.85 ERA with maybe a little bit better whip. Yeah, maybe Zips is the one to look at here, like a 3.6 ERA. A 126 whip. I think everybody would be pretty happy with that.
Absolutely. I think where you're going for Gavin Williams, if you got that, you'd be pretty happy with it. Justin, again, I love Gav here. He had a nice second half. You've always been cautious on him. I would say that you're right, too, because even though he rallied and, I held him, the diehards held him, the tough part about Gavin Williams is a lot of his good work was probably done on other people's teams last year. Even in 15s, there was a pivot point where I was even looking at cutting him. I remember holding him because I watched one of his starts where the surface numbers were bad, but the stuff looked okay. And I'm like, I'm just going to hold him one more week. I don't have anybody I want to pick up anyway. And I held through it, and he turned it around. But I think a lot of people probably cut him even in some deeper formats. Did he move you at all with that second half, though, Gavin Williams, Justin?
I mean, yes and no. I think for me, Gavin Williams is always going to be a struggle because I worry about the control issues and then I worry about the health. And so I still have some of those fears. I will say, to your point about him walking less guys so far in spring, and obviously, like I said, it's a super small sample, 8 innings pitched only so far. You look at his zone percentage, it is up 3.5%. And remember, zone percentage is that one where it's 1 to 2 percentage points is a lot. So to see it 3.5% up seems like a concerted effort to pepper the zone.
Yep.
And not necessarily like on just first pitch strikes, right? His first pitch strike percentage is actually down 5% so far this spring from where it was last year. So he's actually making a concerted effort within the at bat to go at the zone. Now that just may be a matter of, hey, like I don't really care about the results. I'm gonna just try to see.
The results are still good, though.
The results are still good, right? And I do worry, like if that becomes the case, are we gonna see a drop in strikeout percentage? Maybe that's a trade-off. Maybe he is and gonna end up being more of like a 22, 23% strikeout rate guy. But if he drops that walk rate to like 6-7%. We'll kind of live with that, right?
I would take that trade. I don't think he has to, but if he did, if that was the trade-off this year for Gavin Williams, I think it would be worth it. Because
I think it would be too.
Because I think you're going to get 180 innings, so then the volume could make up for the strikeout dip a little bit, and the whip would come down so much.
And the homers won't hurt as much, right?
Exactly.
Because he does have that wind tunnel, out in right field in Cleveland that can be so disastrous for pitchers. I'm intrigued. I'm not out on Gavin Williams. He's not a guy that I've been targeting, but like if we saw like this concerted effort to live in the zone a little bit more, and he could get that whip down into like the 1.15 range, have like a mid 3s ERA and a 23% strikeout rate, I would take that at this price all day long.
Yeah, pick 137 is where he's going in his last 11. Now, he has spiked up as high as 81. That's his min, and that wasn't me, folks. I haven't done an OC yet. So that was not me taking him at 81.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Where'd he
I'll
go
be
in the
curious
main?
to see that too, because
He went in the middle of the 11th round.
I got
Like,
no problems with
in the
that.
Robbie Ray, Sandy Alcantara, Blake Snell kind of
That's
area.
a fall.
Yeah.
That's a good.
That's
30
an outright fall. I'll take that all day for Gavin Williams if he ends up being one of the fallers. This guy could end up being a faller too, because not everyone's bought in on Sonny Gray, and I think there's a little bit of that hot potato aspect to him, where
Yeah.
people would rather be the first one off the train, maybe a year early than a year late. He's shifting over from from St. Louis to Boston, Joe, and there's still a lot of skill here, but it wasn't the best year, and I don't know. Like, I don't have him flopping. I have him SP30, like, all looks good. He never ends up getting drafted by me because I'm taking other guys around there, but I think this is still going to be all right. But where do you come out on Gray? Are you worried at age 36 that you want to be off the train too early as opposed to too late? Or is Gray still someone you think can bounce back from the home runs last year?
I'm really torn because the blowups were brutal. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starts of at least 5 earned runs last year. And a lot of them
Yikes.
came in the second half. There was 4 of them in the second half, 5 of them in the second half.
He gave up. He's like, this team sucks.
Killed you down the stretch if you were starting Sonny Gray. But where I have a problem is that all the numbers that we tend to look at, the ones that I give the most credence to, he's still good. The strikeout minus walk rate was 22. A year after, it was 25. The whip was not great, but Sierra was really, really good for him. 329, following up the 303. Like, if you were to look, and I'm not doing this right now, but if you look at stats over the last 2 years for pitchers, Sonny Gray would probably rank pretty high in terms of those strikeout minus walk rates and a lot of the good numbers. But at his age, after what we saw in the second half, going to a new, worse ballpark to pitch in a tough division, in what is likely the toughest division in baseball again, I don't know that I can do it a lot. I think I have 1 share of Sonny Gray out of 10 or 11 drafts so far. I'm willing to take him, but he's not a target for me. I think there is definitely some drop-off potential here. But on the other side of that, maybe there is one more year where he can be 2023, 2024, or even 2022 Sonny Gray. He's proven that he can adapt to new surroundings throughout his career. He's pitched for, 7 teams at this point? Like, he's done well in a lot of different locations, so maybe that's not the biggest concern. But just at his age, following the second half, he's a tough guy to throw a lot of chips into.
Justin, I'm really eager to see if Boston has a fix for the left on base situation the last 2 years, where Sonny Gray is under 70%. So, the runners that he does let on, the few that he does, are scoring more consistently, despite the electric 23% strikeout minus walk over those last 2 seasons as well. I think Boston might have a fix in order. I don't know what it would be, but they're really smart with pitchers. I think there's a chance that they can make him, have a fix to get the left on base rate going again and then get back under 4 ERA. Do you like Sonny Gray in Fenway?
I like him on Boston. I don't know if I like him as much in Fenway. Leaving Busch Stadium is a really nice place to pitch. But if you've listened to the podcast for the last few years, you have heard me rave about Andrew Bailey as a pitching coach. I think he is the best pitching coach in Major League Baseball, and that's who Boston has. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Sonny Gray's, left on base rate and his BABIP kind of return to normal in Boston after being higher last year or bad last year in St. Louis. I definitely worry about the age, right? Like, and this does feel like this classic, like, hey, maybe I do jump off a year earlier than a year or two late. But that also offers like a buying opportunity, because I think there's a lot of people are going to see like this 36-year-old, pitcher who had kind of a shaky year last year. And to answer Joe's question, I did look it up while he was talking. Sonny Gray over the last 2 years is 5th in Major League Baseball in K-minus PD, right behind Garrett Crochet, Terry Skubal, Zach Wheeler, and Logan Gilbert. So
that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's been fantastic. So you really can't complain too much. I think he is a guy that I would love to have as an SP3. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but especially if I've got some pretty nice upside guys at the top that have at least one has a safe floor. I think Sonny Gray's a perfect fit for an SP3.
I know we've moved out of DC season for the most part. That doesn't mean they're not still going, but they're not the peak of things right now. But he feels like a great DC type pick, right? Because he's going later, and he's got that sort of veteran bankability that you look for with Sonny Gray, that even though there is some risk, maybe it's being overbaked into his draft price. All right, let's go on to a guy who broke through again last year, right? I always have a hard time, how to say it when somebody has already broken out. Trevor Rogers has already been good, but then he was bad for several years. So did he break out last year? Or did he reemerge? Whatever the terminology is that you want to say, he was awesome. It took a little bit because when he first went to Baltimore, it didn't look good. It's like, oh my God, why did they trade for this guy? This was a terrible move. Well, he was returning from injury. He just needed some time. Boom, he comes back better than ever, I would say, Justin. He looked better than the Miami version that we saw. Now, nobody's putting him down for a 181 ERA and 090 whip again.
I am.
Good for you. Then I don't have to ask you where you got him going to. Maybe I'll just go to Joe. No, what do you have him regressing to, though? It was 110 brilliant innings for Trevor Rogers, but he didn't have the skills to really support that either. He had the skills to support like a sub-3. He had a 282 FIP, but not quite the sub-2. Where does Trevor Rogers go from here at age 28?
I have him for a 356 ERA and 167 innings.
Take that all day.
Yeah, this feels like the classic scenario of everybody like, he's going to regress, and then the hate goes too far on Trevor Rogers, and I think of course he's going to regress. He was insane last year, but he's finally healthy. This is a guy that you and I have both loved for a really, really long time. It's a good park to pitch in on a team that should be much better than it was last year. I think there's a lot of reasons to like Trevor Rogers. I haven't ended up with him in any drafts this year, but I definitely think he's going to be a guy I go the extra dollar for at Tout Wars this weekend.
I think if this was an isolated incident, I'd be cautious saying this, but it's definitely not. I can't name a bunch off the top of my head, but I can go through and find a bunch. But Joe, this is part of the reason that I'll stay in on somebody when it looks bleak. Like I didn't have a ton of Trevor Rogers last year, but he was like an oasis in DCs at times as a name you recognize where I'm like, I'll throw him on the team. I don't care. So I had a couple DC shares of Trevor Rogers, kind of sticking with somebody who's done some stuff before. And I do find myself doing that, especially in those deeper DCs where you're turning over every rock, that if it's the classic Ron Chandler. Once you display a skill, you own it. Now, it might not come back out of your arsenal, but in the case of Trevor Rogers, it came back in a big way. Does he stay good, or does he fall all the way back to bad Rogers, Joe?
I don't think he's going to necessarily be bad Rogers, but it's definitely within his range of outcomes as he's shown. I find it hard to reconcile the BABIP being at 226 and the left on base rate being at 85. Those come back down to normal.
But those are what the 181 ERA is built off of, right? So even if you put those at league average, it takes them to like a mid threes. And I guess, is that what you're comfortable with? Because I agree, those are sky high, but I think that's just another way of saying that's how he got the 181 ERA.
Yeah, when I look at what the projections are showing this year, and they have the BABIP at roughly 300, the strand rate 71, 72, so both about normal, and the best ERA projection is 395. Now they're factoring in the years in Miami and the first year and the first half of season in Baltimore where he was not good.
Right.
So I don't know how much weight should be given to the pre-2025 Rogers. Should we factor it in at all? Is he like?
See, I was going to ask you that because I don't want to be biased and just say no because I like him.
Yeah.
But I look at, say, 24 versus 25. He was throwing 91.9. His skills were a mess. Well, sure, if that guy comes back, he's going to be terrible. But how much weight do you put in? Justin, you do your projections, so come back in on this one. How do you navigate something like that? Because I don't think you should completely ignore it, but do you bake it in at a whole full 100% just to make sure that you're counting the downside here? How do you operate when somebody clearly was hurt, clearly was a bad version of themselves, and then refines the old great version?
I tend to ignore a lot of the old stuff, right? Because I think he's a different pitcher today than he was back then, especially from a health department. So, but from like a just straight like mechanics point of view from projections, I think this is why projections miss on a lot of these guys. Because I think they automatically default to like a 3-year window, right?
Which makes sense. Like it is the sobering way to look at it. Like,
and they don't have the ability to nuance, right?
Right. They're trying to be broad.
Way that an actual person does, right? Like
exactly.
There's between like me writing a player notes and AI writing a player note, right?
Yes, there is a difference.
So. Ultimately, like I feel like I have a better snapshot. I can also be more biased, right? Because I want him to be good because I watched him pitch last year and really, really saw something in him that I'd been waiting for. So like there's kind of the catch-22 of it. But yeah, I let a lot of the previous stuff for Trevor Rogers go because I wanted to kind of capture what he did last year, because to me that's the most important thing. Finally getting back on the mound healthy and throwing a good amount of innings.
Yeah, it's like I could put a splash of 24 in there to kind of like cut the edge on the projection if it was too high or something. But the reason, I know it is just biased
we
toward
are
him.
doing that because we're not like just saying like, oh, we'll give him 160 at what he did last year.
Exactly.
Otherwise, he'd have like a 2.80 ERA projection, right?
Right.
Or 180 because he had a 1.81 ERA. Obviously, that would be insane. But I think there's like a lot of reason to believe that Trevor Rogers is a version of the guy we saw last year. Obviously not as good and with injury risk, right? I think the biggest, maybe the biggest flaw in my Trevor Rogers projection is the playing time, right? Is the innings, because I have him for 167 innings. He's never come close to that. Right. So maybe I should ratchet that down to like 150.
That can be your guardrail, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to ignore the injury piece because that's not who he is and you think he's the healthy version of Rogers, then you put the innings back lower so that he does come down a little bit so that you're not overdrafting him and just expecting a brand new career high, like you point out. He only has a max of 133 in the majors. I think he breaks that this year, but it is tough to put that as your projection that he will get 30 more innings than he's ever gotten in the majors for Trevor Rogers. Okay, let's go to this next guy who is, coming off an injury, but he did return last year, and it's Brandon Woodruff, and it was a really, really interesting return. I don't know how much you guys followed what Brandon Woodruff did or have broken him down this offseason, but he basically remade himself because he lost a ton of velo, and you'd normally think, okay, well, that's going to kill you when you come back and you're nearly 3 miles lower. He was like the best we've ever seen. He had a 27% strikeout minus walk. His strikeout rate was up to 32%, and it's because he remade his arsenal. He kind of funneled it into a cutter, used the four seam less, so parlayed the velo dip to work for him. So turned it in his primary fastball into a cutter instead of a four seamer, and boom, all of a sudden he was himself and being very good again. There is a lot of trepidation about him because now they're kind of, is he going to be ready for opening day? We don't know. We're working with Brandon Woodruff. He's kind of in a, we really don't know right now. If you're drafting at any point in these next few days until we get word, you're drafting blind on Brandon Woodruff, Justin. But I am curious how you feel about that with regards to where his price is, what he did last year, and what we can expect from this year after basically not even a full season over the last 3 years. He has 130 innings since 2023 for Brandon Woodruff.
I just can't do it personally. I really can't. I really struggle to.
Are you not moved by the success of last year? He was so good.
I'm very moved by the success, and I think when he is on the mound, he will be really, really good. How do you project the innings on that though? I mean, like. He threw 64 2/3 last year. And
should Milwaukee even push him? On the one hand,
they're so deep in the rotation
right
now.
That's exactly it.
They're going to send down Brandon Sproat. They may send down like a Chad Patrick or a Logan Anderson.
They've got depth. Yeah, Robert Gasser's another guy.
Yeah,
on the one hand, he's 33, and you're like, well, what kid gloves are you going to have? He's gone 180 before and all that. On the other hand, they have the depth that you're talking about, Justin, and designs on the playoffs during which they would desperately want Brandon Woodruff.
I would be shocked if he's on the opening day roster, Brandon Woodruff. I think they have to put him on the IL. Just slow play him, like say, hey, April doesn't matter. We don't want you to get hurt. We're going to be in the playoff hunt when you're ready come May or June. But we want you to be there for the bulk of this season and for the playoffs. And for me, I'm not drafting a guy like that. And so there's
why though? Because he's not hurt right now. They're just working him back, so he is healthy. Are we getting too focused on the opening day piece then?
I mean, I'm focused on the opening day piece. For me, because anything can happen, right? We saw this with Brandon Woodruff last year, where there was oh, he's going to be ready this time, and then it got pushed. He's going to be ready this time, he got pushed, and then he only threw 60 innings last year. So I don't know what the workload situation. It's too high of a pick, to be projecting a guy maybe for 90 innings.
I mean, we just did that with Tyler Glass now, though. So,
But Tyler Glasgow is actually healthy right now. Brandon Woodruff.
I think Brandon Woodruff is
not.
too. Why not? He
Well,
threw.
he's not. Maybe not. He's not healthy. He's not ready.
Not
Glasgow
ready
is
yet.
ready.
Right. He is
Right?
currently. He's going to be in.
I
That is a difference.
I would much rather take the guy who's ready and healthy right now, get my 90 innings up front, and if I got to drop him in July, I drop him in July, as opposed to waiting till June potentially, right? Because we went through this, like we've gone through this so many times with different guys, and it's usually because of injury, right? This is a little different. But what's to say Brandon Woodruff doesn't get hurt in between now and then?
There's nothing to say that. And I think part of my problem, Joe, with Brandon Woodruff is the 123 price point. As much as I like him and as much as I like how he rebuilt himself last year to combat the velo drop, there is no real discount here. And he's not really moving down even with the potential scare of not making opening day. And I was kind of maybe hoping for that, like create a little, have that panic come out since his opening day status is in doubt, and then we get a pick 170. We're not getting that at all with him, Joe. So are you buying in on Brandon Woodruff despite a relatively high price point?
No, I can't. I mean, ending the season hurt, and then I'm trying to find it, but it might be a Mandela effect thing. I thought they had said that he will not be ready, and then they pulled it back, and they said yes.
Well,
he
yeah,
will
that's
be ready.
They've been going back and forth.
Yeah,
it was up in the air.
He said in an interview that he was more concerned about being healthy for the season than being ready by opening day.
Right, which is the right outlook. We put way too much stock on opening day, and I think we do put too much stock on it in fantasy. I hear what you're saying, Justin, about how things can happen and it can create a problem, especially in the NFBC universe where there's no IL, which I think is the distinction I would make here. Because anything with an IL, I think I'd even pay the premium for Woodruff in the right situation because I can work around it more easily. It's just a lot harder to do in the NFBC world where if he misses any time, you're now working with 6 reserves and you need every reserve spot you can get for the whole year. Stashes are hard. They're not impossible. You can make them work, especially when your team is clicking on all cylinders, but they're hard to purposely put on your team. At least for me, that's my management style. I know Greg Martin, my boy, loves taking those gambles. He builds his teams around I can hold this for this few weeks. I can do that. And his success speaks for itself. So it can be done. But I understand y'all's trepidation with Woodruff for sure.
Like just the way last year worked, it felt like he had how many rehab starts? Like 23 rehab starts or something last year. He was down for so long. If you pick him where you pick him, like let's say 120 or something, and you get 75 really good innings, or let's say 85 really good innings out of Woodruff, is it worth it?
Yeah, as long as they're good.
You think so?
Honestly, anything that starts to be like that 80 plus innings, if they're good, then I'm going to say yes to that question. Okay. Anytime we're past pick 100, just because that's the nature of today's game. So again, if I know you can't guarantee that they're good, but in the hypotheticals that they're good, it is still going to be worth it. It's when they flame out and they burn me on the way out. They drop a 5.28 ERA on my face for 8 starts and they miss the rest of the year. Those are the real killers. But the guys who are at least amazing when they pitch, like Woodruff was for 62 innings, at least I got 62 good innings.
Okay. That's fair.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not worth it from he didn't earn back pick 120. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that doesn't kill you. You stick and move after that. You got to push through that. That's not a season killer.
If he was going pick 160, I'd be fine with it.
That's my biggest issue with Woodruff is that the market loves him a lot, which I respect. He's awesome, but I wish they were cooler on him because I'm with you. That is the hurdle that I can't get over right now.
On the plus side, he is on a 1-year deal, and Milwaukee may just say, "We don't care. We're just going to burn you. We're just going to let you go until you break."
That's probably what they will do because they have no interest in re-signing starting pitching stars as they've shown over the last couple of years. They'll just trade them.
I don't think that they would hold him for that. It would be for October, not to protect him for a signing. I agree with you guys there. The only reason I think the innings could be a little bit lower on Woodruff is that they say we need to keep some juice in the tank for October.
I think once he is on the mound in games, he's there. He's there until he's
just good to go.
Until he breaks, right? If I knew that was April 17th, I'd be more in. I just don't know when it's going to be. Yeah.
We just can't know, unfortunately. All right, let's go to our last guy for the day. We're going to bookend it with Rays. We started with Pepio, and we're going to end.
I just want to say, you asked me before we started recording not to name anybody on the list, especially this guy. Drew Rasmussen.
Because I knew you would mention
you're like a squirrel, and if I name someone, you're gonna like start moving them up the list and messing up. And I didn't. It is an hour into the podcast, and I didn't do shit.
Let it be known that Justin did the bare minimum, folks. He adhered to the one question I asked before the show.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It takes a lot of self-control.
I did ask them not to mention the other guys because I will follow that thread, and then I'm moving the list, and it's for my own, stupid brain. But we are going to finish with Drew Rasmussen, and I did specifically cite him because I know Justin would want to talk about him a lot, and I would too, but I did want to purposely bookend with the Rays because I love both of them. Now, the one thing I see some people making the mistake of that I just don't agree with at all is projecting more innings. I think they saw what worked last year, and there's no reason to change. 31 starts, 150 innings, classic 5 and dive. Why would they push extra innings here, Joe, on Drew Rasmussen?
They probably won't. And if our memory serves, and I think, looking at the game log, in June, there was actually thought of like Rasmussen's coming out of the rotation, or he's going to make like 2-inning, 3-inning abbreviated.
They're always doing that with him. Yep.
They're gaming the system with him. And I'm fine with it. It'll be annoying on those weeks if they do have him, let's say a two-step gets washed out because they want to throw him 2 innings either side of it. Like that would be really annoying. But every year of his career, going back to 2021, it's a sub-3 ERA and it's a sub-110 WHIP. He just does it. He just punches tickets every year. He's had amazing stuff. Now, it wasn't as good as it was in 2024, where it was 128, but it was a very small sample size. Over a full season, though, 112 stuff with 109 pitching plus. You got five plus pitches in that ballpark. Like, I don't need more than 150 to be really, really happy with Drew Rasmussen. He's being drafted right in that same range as Woodruff within 5 picks, and I'll take Rasmussen every time, I think.
That's the thing, Justin, is like, you're never going to get me to take Woodruff when Rasmussen is there, and he goes cheaper. And I don't really understand that, and I say that again. I want to reiterate. I like Woodruff. I think he's good, but why would you not just wait for Rasmussen? I know you like him going crazy this year, but are you one of those people who booked him for more innings, Justin, or did you say 150 is the right move here?
I did 157.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. I meant the people who are trying to say 170.
No, I don't.
That ain't happening.
It's the Rays, and we also have to point out this isn't like the Rays of 5 years ago where they're competing for a playoff spot. This is a team kind of still in transition. I don't think that they are one of the best 3 teams in this division. They arguably could be the worst team in this division. If
they could also win the division, though, too. They always have that range of outcomes.
Sure, but I don't think they even see themselves necessarily as a World Series contender right now. And so why would you, in a guy that you have under contract for another season because they have a really cheap club option in 2027. Mm-hmm. Why would you hurt him, when maybe next year is the window, especially if next year's a shortened season and
this just works.
Anything goes. So I think he's kind of perfect. I do believe that the stuff is so good that at some point he could become the strikeout guy that he was earlier on in his career. Mm-hmm. However, this is very much like the Dustin May situation before Dustin May went bad, where it's he's not trying for that. He's trying to get out of innings quicker. Mm-hmm. He's trying to so that
ground
way
balls, quick outs.
Yeah,
weak
so that
contact.
way he saves. I don't see the strikeout rate necessarily jumping up a ton. Maybe it moves from the 21-22% we saw last season to a 23 or 24%. But I'm not projecting that at all. I'm just projecting 155 really, really good innings. Yep.
Drew Rasmussen just punches the clock on good work when he's healthy, right?
He's the perfect guy to offset a Cole Reagans, right? You get Cole Reagans as your SP1, you get, another solid arm as your SP2, and then you add Drew Rasmussen as your SP3, and you've had a really good start to your draft.
Yes, and his whip is just so nice. He had 146 innings and 28 starts back in 2022. Then he was hurt 23-24. We've seen the model. We know how it works. And again, this isn't rampant. I'm not acting like everyone's projecting extra innings for him. But every time I hear it, I'm like, you're just asking for too much. Just take the $150 and be done with it. He's awesome as is. So there we go. A couple Rays to bookend our guys today with Pepio. down to Rasmussen, Strider, King, Wheeler, Glasnow, Gavin Williams, Sonny Gray, Trevor Rogers, Brandon Woodruff in between. A lot of question marks. There's going to be some superstars here. Identifying which ones is going to be the tough part, though, because you can make the case for and against the whole group. That is the beauty of the pitching pool, though, is going out, finding your guys, making your choices. So, gentlemen, great talking with you. I think we're going to do another episode tomorrow because, Justin, you're out later this week, right? So we're going to have 2 at the front end of the week here, and then you're going to New York for Tout, yeah?
Yeah. I'm leaving for New York literally Wednesday night, so there won't be any pods, at least for me.
Yeah, maybe Joe and I can find some time to get together late week.
But I'm down to do something tomorrow if you guys are.
Yeah, I think we will have something then, and then Joe and I can figure out what's going on. We got OTP releasing on Friday, so I might not be available then. Maybe we could do a weekend one, Joe. I'll see what you're up to. But we'll figure that out. But otherwise, look for another one tomorrow from us with more SPs. Gentlemen, great speaking with you. I'll talk to you guys later.
See you guys.
Take it easy.